Hey, what's up everybody? Day here, trying to think what today, oh, it's August 4th today, and like always, deer hunting, the closer it gets, the more I think about it. And I just figured, I know there's a lot of people in the same shoes I'm in, as far as the size of hunting properties they're able to hunt, and then also just like how much, I guess how many different properties you can hunt. I consider myself lucky enough to have, I think I got like 4 spots that I can go that are private, and there's little spots. Here at my house I got like a couple acres of timber, and then the rest is open. There's some deer around the area, so I should be able to have some success out here. And then another property is actually 30 acres. That's the biggest place that I have permission to hunt on, and it's straight timber, so it's nice that I do got some timber ground to hunt, but it's also kind of hard because there's no food on the property. So just wanted to kind of go through and give you guys a rundown of the tactics I use when hunting small properties. Number one thing comes down to like low pressure. You can't burn a place out, especially I'm guilty of doing it too. You get into the hunting season and you might have had a good night there, and then you keep hunting there, and the next thing you know, you're not seeing much there just because the deer know you're there. They smell your trail when you walk in and out. And so to kind of minimize that, what I'll do is you got to pay attention to your entry and exit. If you're able to use like a hillside or a creek bottom, a lot of times will work really good, kind of keeps you out of sight, out of mind. And then like here at my place, I planted Egyptian wheat. It's actually did really good this year. Got like 8 foot tall, 9 foot, and then that'll kind of allow me access to get in and out of the property. I just the other night I was out walking around the yard and I came up to the back window and there was a doe out there, and she probably heard me or something, but she felt comfortable enough to stay there. And that's just going to allow me during the hunting season to kind of walk around the edge of the property to get to a stand without alerting every deer in the area that I'm going out hunting. So I would say time of year too has a big role, and I would say during the rut you can hunt harder and you're not going to have as big of an issue. There's probably going to be people that disagree with me, but during the rut, them bucks kind of lose their minds. I feel more comfortable during the rut going back to a place and hunting it maybe 2 or 3 times a week, hunting that 30 acres of timber. As long as I'm able to kind of play it smart, get in and out of there, and the rut is in full swing, I'll still have deer coming by me night after night. And then another thing too, the last couple of years I've kind of started doing is, say if I'm hunting all my spots, I know I need to give them a break, I'll go and I'll hunt public. It's, at least in my part of Iowa here, there's a decent amount of public ground around, and especially during the rut, it's there. You do have a chance of killing a nice buck on public land. Every time I think I went to public in the last couple of years, I've seen deer. The hardest thing with that is just carrying in all your equipment, all your hunting gear, and then like this year, for me trying to film hunts, it's gonna be hard trying to carry in my stand and carry in the camera equipment, but I'm still gonna try to get out there and do it a couple times. Like I said, be able to give my properties that I'm able to hunt break. And then also to help with your small property, if you're set up and you have no cover, but say you have food, say you have tons of food plots and no cover, maybe your thing you might want to look at is adding cover, whether it's CRP mix or native grasses, or like here I put some cedars around just the edges, and there's just different options that you can do to try to get yourself covered quick. And then even long term too, you can do plantings of trees, you can do some hinge cutting, and just like I said, anything you can do to your small property to either hold deer or make deer want to come to your property is going to help you out in the long run, and then be more successful throughout the fall. Neighboring properties, that 30 acres I was talking about, on all sides is hunted, so it's pretty high pressure. And I feel like if I'm able to give that a break and let all the neighbors that are in there hunting, a lot of times I'll notice the deer will, if I'm out of there for a week, I'll see a lot more deer. Unless if I was hunting it day after day, I probably wouldn't be seeing much. But if I'm able to give that place a rest, I think all the neighboring properties hunt it pretty hard and push the deer into that property. And then it's kind of going to be hard too to compete. Say if the neighboring property, say they don't let anybody hunt. So as soon as you start adding any sort of pressure, those deer, especially a mature buck, is going to go straight to that low pressure property. And then target deer, it just comes down to what are your goals, I guess. Like during shotgun season, we hunt as hard as we can every morning, every night, just because our goal during shotgun season is to fill tags. My whole family, we all eat deer year round. So that's kind of the time that we go out, get to spend time with each other, fill tags, fill freezers. So, and then like if your goal is to really kill a mature buck, I think the number one thing is just low pressure. I think as soon as you got a 4.5-year-old, 5.5-year-old buck, if he senses pressure, he's gonna move on somewhere else. If he can find somewhere that nobody hunts, nobody bothers, that's where he's gonna go. And like that's the best thing about small properties sometimes, is they're overlooked. It's by people, and these bucks could go lay up and they could live in a 5-acre patch of timber that everybody's like, oh, there's no deer in there, it's too small. And those are the places that I think you can have a lot of success. And then also like those places too, those are probably some of the opportunities to go knock on doors and ask permission. There's a place we walk during shotgun season, and it's literally just a thick grassy waterway with willows in it, and a lot of times, probably 50% of the time, we'll run deer out of there. And like I said, that just goes to show that deer will go anywhere. So, but I guess I better go over my little diagrams here for you guys, my artwork. This right here is kind of how my property is set up. House is here, I got soybeans, and then right here is where my Egyptian wheat is. And also I got some sorghum strips along my grain sorghum along my food plots. So that'll also help when deer are in these food plots. Say if a buck comes, this is timber here, the black area. If a buck comes through here, he won't be able to see into this food plot unless he steps in it. He goes to the soybeans. He will, I don't got any screening on that side, but that's kind of my main food source. But my other shot plot over here, same thing, sorghum there. So that way, if they come up there, they gotta step into those plots, and then that's where I'll have my stands at and a blind. That way, like I said, you just don't want a buck to be able to come check out your property and be on and off it in half hour or 5 minutes. You want them to be able to maybe spend half the day there checking around areas. And then also, this is that 30 acres I was talking about. It's got 2 ridges that run through it. In the middle, I got a small food plot. And then up top, it's got agriculture, corn, soybean rotation. And the main way, it's a hard place to access because you can screen yourself from maybe one side of the ridge, but you always run the risk of kicking up deer. And then that's why this property, I mostly try to hunt mornings, because I find if I go in there in the afternoon, I'm trying to sneak up there and I kick out a deer, I got a deer blowing at me, and I don't like it when that happens. But like in this case, try to find, so like on this property, this is a bedding area, and then this is a ridge, and I will take this, I'll hug the ridge side. I won't walk the top of the ridge, because if you walk the top of the ridge, you look down both sides, deer can see you either way. At least if I go on this side, the deer that are over in the little bedding area, they can't see me. So like I said, a lot of times just access is pretty key. As soon as a deer knows you're there, especially a big buck, he'll move on, he'll find a new place. So, but that's it. If you guys have any questions, I don't claim to be an expert by any means, but I got enough experience with hunting small properties and have had good luck. I think my next video, I'd kind of like to walk you guys through and show you a couple of my deer kills, and then just kind of tell you the history of how I started up hunting and why I love it so much. So make sure to like and subscribe and stay tuned for the next episode.